So as far as hype, okay, got three questions about the Detroit Lions hype train. Question one, are we hearing more about Ennis Rakestraw than Terrion Arnold?
We are this week. Last week was all Terrion Arnold. This week it feels like there's a lot of Rakestraw love. Hearing that he runs with the ones every once in a while, that's kind of cool. We knew going into it that this was a highly thought of defensive back, and I love hearing it. I want to hear that all these defensive backs are doing, and we are actually. You're hearing about Carlton Davis. You're hearing about Rakestraw. You're hearing about Arnold. I saw that Dan Miller did an interview with Amik Robertson, and that was kind of cool to see where his head's at. And then we're here. Hey, look who's back at practice. Here's Branch is back, and it seems like the secondary is the group that is getting a lot of love in the early part of training camp.
Brad Holmes' second-round picks. Levi Onwuzurike, Josh Paschal.
I'm sorry. Levi Onwuzurike, one of the best, right?
One of the best so far in camp. Levi Onwuzurike, Josh Paschal, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, Ennis Rakestraw. First of all, they're all still here, although Onwuzurike, if he gets hurt again, might not be, but hopefully he stays healthy. He's had a great camp so far. It is early. Josh Paschal was coming off an injury, and Josh Paschal has had some ups and downs and started to make some plays last year. Sam Laporta and Brian Branch look like home run second-round picks. Ennis Rakestraw, we'll see, but based upon Brad Holmes' track record, we shouldn't be shocked at all if both Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw make it. And we are getting a ton of Ennis Rakestraw hype of late.
I expect it. This is a guy that had first-round grades by a lot of people. So I think there is going to be a lot expected out of him.
Kang, your thoughts, Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw get more buzz this week?
I love it. I told you guys before, I want to hear more positive things from the defensive side of the ball than the offensive side of the ball as far as camp goes and in preseason, because I'm ultra confident in the offense. With everyone coming back, essentially, the offensive line, Ben Johnson, of course, Goff, and most of the weapons, I feel like they're going to be one of the best offenses in the league. The defense was what was lacking last year, and I needed them to take a step, if not a leap. And I feel like the more good things we hear, the more confidence it instills into me as a fan, and hopefully to the players back there, because they're going against a really good offense, by the way, too. Right? It's easy. It would be easy for them to get smoked every day in practice because, like I just mentioned on the offensive side of the ball, those guys, they got some elite playmakers and a great offensive line.
All right, hype train question 2. In a quote on DetroitLions.com, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson says of Jameson Williams, quote, haven't seen anything that he can't do. We started feeling it towards the end of last year, and he's taken that to another level in the springtime and so far here in training camp. He prides himself on being some juice to the offense, and we certainly feel it out there, both in the passing game, making explosive plays, but he also wants to be a dynamic blocker as well, which we really value. All the JMO hype, at any point can it get to be too much and you start thinking tap the brakes?
I mean, when you keep hearing the same reports coming in on the same player, at some point you start to believe it. And do I want to keep hearing it? I mean, would I rather hear it than not hear it? Yes, you'd rather hear it.
Yep.
And it just building up the expectation more and more of what we want to see from Jameson Williams.
I'm buying it all. I really am.
Yeah, we know.
I don't have any reason not to. This has been the most credible coach, GM, Lions staff we had in our lifetime. And if they tell me something, I believe it. And I do think they don't blow smoke up everybody's channel. I think they tell you when somebody is struggling or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Kang, do you ever think too much on JMO?
Yeah, sometimes it crosses my mind. As a guy who's always been a JMO supporter and thought that he would eventually come through, it gives me a little pause as how far away he was last year, though, and maybe when he came in. Because if he's getting this much hype now, I feel like there was a significant gap. You know, maybe he wasn't as far as long as I thought he was, but if he's going to hit that stride this year, then all good. I'm all aboard. So I am a little cautious, but it makes me think like, wow, maybe he wasn't as close as I thought he was. But as long as he hits stride now, we're good to go.
All right, hype train question 3. Getting good reviews on the defensive line, Levi Onwuzurike and Marcus Davenport. Both getting hype. If you had to bet on one, which would you bet on? Onwuzurike or Davenport?
I would bet on Davenport.
Okay. And why is that?
I think, well, he's actually been able to play in his career.
But he's not one of the best.
No. I think that, he's working at a position on the outside that he'll get one-on-one as opposed to double-teamed. So I think that there's that advantage. I don't know. More of a hunch. And I don't want this. I know that this week when those comments came out from Dan Campbell talking about Levi Onwuzurike,
yeah,
that makes it seem like I don't like Levi Onwuzurike. That's not the case.
I know what you're doing. You're just skeptical.
I'm skeptical,
and it made it more seem like you didn't like Dan Campbell,
which is obviously not the case. I love Dan Campbell, but I need to see it from Levi Onwuzurike first. I want to believe in it. I want to believe all the hype about him being worthy of the second round pick, about Brad Holmes dying to draft him, having to be held back from moving back up into the first round to take him. And I want to believe all that stuff, but he was damaged goods when he came to the Lions. And unfortunately he's been dealing with injuries. Now it seems like he's healthy. You're hearing all the good stuff about him. Great. But I won't know until I see it. So it got to see it to believe it.
I feel like we've gone through a stretch over the last 5-6 years where it feels like they might have an answer at one of the rush end positions, whether it was Austin Bryant or Kerry Hyder or Julius Acquar or Romeo Acquar or Charles Harris. There were all these guys that would show promise, and you start to hope that they are going to fulfill that role, and then they don't. And, in the case of Onwuzurike, look, I was a fan out of college, so I've clearly got some confirmation bias, hoping that he will live up to being worthy of the draft pick, but I also have Brad Holmes bias. But yeah, I'd probably go with Marcus Davenport as well. He's had problems staying healthy himself, but he's done it in the league. Kang, which would you be more inclined to believe the hype?
Well, I wouldn't put money on this, but I would lean towards Davenport. I mean, just because we've seen him do it in real NFL action before, when games that count and matter. We have never seen Levi do it. And as much as I want Levi to live up to all this praise he's getting right now, he's never shown he can show healthy. Davenport's coming off 2 injury seasons, but before that, he was healthy at some point in his NFL career. So I'll lean Davenport.